Welcome back to Line by Line. I'm Dr. Tony Rayo Sutherland. Now, in this segment, we'll talk with Alyssa Deal, drama faculty at HCC. She also directed one of the HCC fall shows, Hilarity Begins at Home. Now, we're going to ask her about that title, but right now, welcome to the show,
Hi.
Alyssa.
Thanks for having me.
Great. What is this Hilarity Begins at Home? That's not really a play, is it?
Well, it was this time around. It was a framework for three short farces
Mhm,
that were written in the late 1800s and early 1900s that I could set in a home
mhm.
because I wanted to use the same set for
Very
all of the
smart.
farces I did. And a lot of plays are set in homes.
Mhm.
So it wasn't too terribly difficult to find three farces from around the same time period so that I could use the
The
same
same
set
same
for all
set. Very
three.
good. And why did you choose forces?
Farces are super universal.
Mhm.
You look at satire, and satire has an expiration date because they're about those things that we consider to be funny because they're free current, they're hard
At that
hitting
time.
socio-political facts. And then, 5 years down the line, everyone's like, I
What
don't
was that
even
about?
remember what that was about. Whereas farces are about people being people,
Mhm.
and people have always been people.
Yes.
So you can look at farces from um, as early as I've seen some really good ones from the 1200s, 1300s
Mhm.
that are super recognizable. You see yourself in them. They're
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, it's just like my relationship with my mother-in-law, or whatever
Right,
you
right.
happen to be looking at.
Yeah.
So farces, because they're so accessible and tend to have universal things that make them funny. The situation, like the overall social context,
It's
might be a little
a little
opaque,
different, but
but
the
what makes
personal
them
thing.
funny is the things that are just people being people.
Great.
So that's why.
Okay. So you picked three forces to put it together. Now, I'm going to talk more about that, but let's go back to your background. What experience all do you have in theater? Not all of it, because that'll probably
Well,
take
I
us
was going
all
to
30
say
minutes.
I've
But
been active in professional theater since the late 1990s, and I've
Mhm.
done a little bit of everything.
Okay.
I've done a lot of performance, I've done a lot of tech, I've done a lot of directing. My first degree was in musical theater, and my second degree was in the practical application of very specific voice and movement techniques for traditional Asian theater styles.
Oh, that's
Um,
very
so
that's that
those things. But
very
I have
technical.
done a quite remarkable amount of like the freelance technical stuff.
Tell us a little bit about this particular these plays.
Mhm.
I know that I went to see it and they were wonderful, but I also noticed that you use the audience in a very special way. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was very interactive. And we decided amongst ourselves with the cast and crew that we wanted to award participation with rubber duckies.
Yes, rubber
And
duckies.
that was fun. We had a
Uh-huh.
whole basket of rubber duckies. And I will say, we had some audience participants who got super excited about the potential to win rubber duckies. But it was one of those things where the actors were actively engaging the audience during the shows,
Mhm.
and then there were little competitions and things between. Did you win a rubber duck, by the way?
Oh,
Did
I
you?
did
Oh,
actually.
good, good. So it was basically the thing about any play you do at Spring Branch is you're all up in each other's
It
space
is true.
because it's a
Very
teeny,
tight,
teeny, teeny, tiny
tight,
black
tight.
box. And I thought, hey, why not take advantage of that?
Excellent, excellent.
So
What was something that they think they'll remember about the play?
I think that everybody enjoyed interacting with the audience and
Yeah,
engaging them, and it being a little bit of a contest.
mhm,
In rehearsal, we talked about it's like you want to get them on your side.
very good.
Because your dog
Yeah,
is the best, or
uh-huh.
you are clearly the best man for this woman, or whatever
Very
happens to be
good,
going on in that
very
particular
good.
farce. And so there was that element of things were going to be different every night.
Right.
So it was a higher level of flexibility than you might get with a um, more closed, like a proscenium
Yeah, a
theater
straight
environment.
play all
Yeah.
the way through.
Yeah, you don't actually like see the people. We were all in each other's space. So there was that. I will say I had one of the actors ask me, it's like, I understand why you chose these plays because they're great playwrights and they're all in the same set, but why are they all about rich people? And I actually said, because in the late 18 and early 1900s, the rich people were paying for the theater.
And they didn't want to see what the
They
people in
weren't
poverty were doing.
super interested.
Let
Yeah.
me take. That's great. That's great. Well, just
yeah.
real quick, we have about 30 seconds left.
Mhm.
What do you plan for next semester?
Well, I've got a few different things kind of on my back burner that I'm considering, and it depends on what we're allowed to do in part.
Okay.
If we're allowed to license shows, I would like to do Camino Real,
Ooh,
which
that's
is
nice.
Tennessee Williams, because I'm going to be at the campus where I'm going to have the most students because
Okay.
they're planning very small shows for competition.
That would
Yeah.
be great. Well, I can't wait to see whatever it is you do.
Yeah, it's like we'll see if it's Camino
It'll be
Real,
great.
but it
It'll
might
be
be.
great. Thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you for watching. And we'll be right back with Deborah Schultz and another HCC drama faculty member, Kathy Snyder. So stay with us.
The faculty at HCC represents the best of the city. They're committed to getting our students to their goals. HCC, for everyone, anytime, anyway.
Welcome to Line by Line, where we help you make your mark through the arts. I'm Dr. Tony Rayo Sutherland. Now, today we will be focusing on the theater arts and 3 drama students who are in a fall HCC play. Each student represents an individual production. Now, I'm going to ask each one of you to tell me your name, your character, and the play that you were in. So let's start with Jasmine.
Yes. Well, my name is Jasmine Juarez, and I was in Hilarity Begins at Home, and I played Alice and MC2.
Very good. Okay, next.
Hello, my name is Gelato Adaremi. I was in It Pays to Advertise and I played Cecilia Martin.
Hi, my name is Pedro Balcazar. I was in Midnight Dreary and I played Fortunato, Narrator 4, and Boy Number 2.
Very good. Thank you very much. Now, these are 3 different plays. So before we go into the plays real quick, why did you choose HCC to go into drama and why did you pick drama? Jasmine.
Well, I chose HCC since it was more convenient for me, and I live farther, so there's a lot of HCC campuses.
Mhm.
And I went into drama since it's always been my passion whenever I was little, and I decided to do what I wanted to do for
Very
my
good.
life.
Very good. Excellent.
Yeah, I can pretty much say the same thing. Firstly, I chose HCC just because once I recently moved to Houston, I knew I wanted to start school and pursue my passions, which was drama and getting into acting. So as soon as I started HCC, I knew that that's the first thing that I wanted to pursue, just getting a better experience when it comes to drama and getting a better experience in acting.
Very good. Thank you, Pedro.
Well, I was already at HCC. I was finishing up my automotive degree when I decided to audition for the play.
Mhm.
And I really liked the whole process that went into it. And I did high school theater in high school. And it's just really fun. And I was already here. So
Hey, sounds good. Great. Okay. Well, now I actually got to see all 3 of the plays and they were all wonderful. So we'll just stay in the same order. We'll start with Jasmine. Tell us a little bit about your play, what it's about, and then about your character.
Hilarity Begins at Home is like about a farce chamber, and we have like 3 performances during it, and we have 2 MCs that interact with the audience. It's very audience interactive. And we give out prizes during the play as well to audiences. And it's a comedy show, so it's really fun and lighthearted. What was the other question?
And you played which character?
I played Alice in MC2. So Alice is like a rich girl who lives in a big house, and she deals with like burglars trying to
Okay.
get into her home, and she has to kind of persuade and like keep them there till police come.
Mhm.
And the MC, she talks with the audience a lot. And she's very lighthearted, giggly, and like a very fun person.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you some questions about it, but let's get everybody else in first. Gelada.
Of course. So, again, I was in the play It Pays to Advertise.
Mhm.
Really, just to sum up what the play was about, it was about really Cecilia Martin, who that's what I played.
Mhm.
She's the mother of Rodney Martin, who's really lazy. And the whole scheme was me and my secretary, we plotted to try to get Rodney back to work.
Mhm.
So he could go down the line of just making money and making a man for himself because I did make a deal with a sleazy old man and things like that. It's a big comedy. It's a really great show. Cecilia Martin again plays the mother, or she is the mother of Rodney, the owner of a soap company.
Mhm.
She didn't believe in advertising. She wasn't with the, shenanigans and things like that. But after a while, hearing how it was so profitable and how much money they could make,
Mhm.
she got on board and it was a show from there.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Pedro.
So my play that I was in was A Midnight Dreary, which is a collection of Edgar Allan Poe stories,
Mhm.
which was written by our director, Kathy Snyder. And it consisted of Telltale Heart, The Cask of Amontillado, Mask of the Red Death, William Wilson, and The Raven.
A lot of characters. Okay.
And I was able to play Fortunato from Cask of Amontillado, who is this very eccentric, I guess I would say, person who somehow wronged this other guy, Montresor, and the whole thing for the Cask of Amontillado is Montresor trying to get Fortunato to go into his catacombs with the lie that he has Amontillado, which is like a really fancy wine.
Ooh.
And Fortunato, being like a wine enthusiast,
Mhm.
decides to follow him, and eventually he gets entombed into the catacombs because of what he did to Montresor.
Okay. Well, I can give my comments, but we want to hear from you guys. So let me just throw out a question and y'all can tell me. What did you learn about teamwork or ensemble, that kind of thing? What did you learn in that? Anyway.
Mm. I can say for me, when it came to plays to advertise, I learned a lot about teamwork and working together in regards to just because specifically in that play we had a lot of cast members that dropped out early,
Mhm.
new people that came in. So we really figured out early on that not just one person, makes the whole entire, production. It's all of us communicating, being there for each other, and just really just talking to each other to really make it work. This was my second play that I ever been in HCC, and the best thing that I loved about it was because everybody felt like a family.
Mhm.
Even when we weren't, on stage, rehearsing, practicing, off stage behind closed doors, we would go out with each other, talk, and things like that. So it felt like a real family when it comes to just working together. And I felt like because we were communicating more and talking more and just, being friendly with each other, it just made the production come, even better.
We have about another minute, but I'm going to ask two questions. How about this next one? What did you learn about drama that you didn't know before?
Um, hmm. I think I learned a lot, like again with like communication, like especially with cast members and all that. And just really being a part of like the team, wanting to work together. Um, and um as well as like work calls and all that.
Mhm.
Like sets that you would have to do like outside of rehearsals. That's a really big part of like drama as well, and
Mhm.
building the set and all that, lights and props.
I know that in your play, there was lots of technical changes, masks, all that. Tell me, what did you learn about that aspect?
Definitely also goes back to communication. I know I had a few costume changes that I honestly thought I was not gonna make. And I did miss a few of them during rehearsals. But I talked to our costume helper, Maria, and she was very good at like having everything prepared for me. And I was able, once we opened and throughout the run of the show, I was able to make all my costume changes and make all my entrances.
Excellent. Well, I have a whole lot more questions for you, but I don't have any more time. So I just want to thank you all for being a part of the show, and I had a wonderful time watching all of y'all. Y'all were very, very good, very talented.
Thank you so much.
Well, we will be right back. And when we come back, we'll talk to some other faculty members, the directors of these shows, and we'll see what they have to say. So we'll be right back.
The faculty at HCC represents the best of the city. They're committed to getting our students to their goals.
A 4-year degree.
Workforce training. A better life.
HCC, for everyone, anytime, anyway.
Welcome back to Line by Line. I'm Dr. Tony Rayo Sutherland. Now, we talked with Kathy Snyder last fall about her play that she directed. It was called Midnight Dreary. Let's take a look.
So it's dark and mysterious and more than a little creepy, but what do you expect? It's Edgar Allan Poe in a new staging at HCC's Stafford campus.
Oh, I've loved Poe since I can remember. But a student of mine, Ebony, when I asked in the spring what the kids wanted in their fall production, she said horror. So over the summer, I read a whole bunch of horror plays, and some of them either weren't appropriate or there was some kind of element in it that was either not right or I didn't think our stage was right for it. There was something wrong with each one of them. And then I just happened to see a book I had of his work, and I thought, I wonder if there's some plays out there of his work, and there are. But I couldn't find any that weren't musicals or or just one story. I kind of wanted a little bit of each. So I said, I'm gonna try, since I had written the play in the spring, I decided I would try to write one.
My dream is to become a theater teacher, mostly because prior to coming to HCC, I was a teacher. And like I said, I've always loved theater, and it's like the best of both worlds. I get to combine the two. In order to like really hammer it in and like understand it, I would have to be in like more stage productions, you know, and just building up that resume, building up that experience so that I can pass that knowledge on to other people. And this show in particular is completely out of my comfort zone. Most of the time I am cast in comedy. So this is the opposite, even though it is a dream of mine. Because I've always wanted to do or horror or thrillers. So this was a great experience for me, and I believe that I can pass that on to a younger generation.
I did theater in high school, and it always seemed like a hobby to me back then because it was like underfunded, so there was not a lot of collaboration going on. But coming here to HTC and having all the like professors talk about their experience in the theater world kind of helped me like get interested. And all my professors, including the late Mr. Flanagan, he pushed me to join, and I auditioned, and seeing everything just come together was pretty cool in my opinion, and I was just interested since then.
The most challenging part, I think, is I learned a lot how to actually read what I'm reading, like read the script and understand what I'm saying and saying it and making sure I have an intention behind it. I think when you're telling a story, or as an actor, you should know what you're saying behind those lines, and they have to mean everything to you. So that was one of the hard parts, especially how you express it too, and how you deliver your lines. I think Ms. Snyder really helped me out on that. And it just clicked in my mind once we went through all the stories and stuff. And I listened to a lot of audios on YouTube too to help me think about how to say it and how to present it to the audience. And I learned a lot by just doing that.
It's very theatrical. So it's not, a straightforward play. It has a lot of symbolism, and there's lots of narrators, and they had to, leave the stage as a marionette, and there's dancing, and so it's not realism, right? I keep reminding people this isn't realism. Don't do that. So learning a different kind of acting and learning how to shift roles very quickly. You go from a narrator to this character to that character, instead of playing one character throughout. That's a different skill set. Also dealing with verse, and it's Poe as opposed to Shakespeare. Very different verse style. I originally wrote it for 11 actors. And the reason I wrote it for 11 actors was because of costume changes and things like that, and all the set piece changing. And I knew the actors would have to do a lot of that. And in order not to make it absolutely frantic backstage, it needed 11 people. I was able to cast 8 and 1 dropped out. So we have a cast of 7 doing 11 roles. So it is incredibly demanding of the students, and but they've really stepped up to the plate. I'm super proud of them.
Shall be lifted.
Nevermore.
That was a pretty technical show, wasn't it?
Yes, we try to mix things up. So you've got shows like Midnight Drury that are high tech, or shows like It Pays to Advertise, where we actually went the opposite and went as low tech as possible.
Right.
And then Larry Begins at Home kind of sat in the middle of a little bit of tech and a little bit more focus on the
I
characters
like
and
it.
acting.
It's wonderful. So there's a variety of things each student can get. By the way, this is Deborah Schultz. She is the drama program director. Coordinator. See, I keep trying to promote her, but she needs a promotion. So there you go. Y'all heard that. Well, you also directed one of the plays. It was which one?
It Pays to Advertise.
Yes, and that was very funny. I love that one. That was just great.
It's amazing how something from 1914, 110 years later, still is extremely relative.
Very much. The advertising part, I really especially went, oh yeah, you can sell anything to anybody. If you're a good salesman, you can
say it enough times with enough vim and vigor, and people will just believe you.
It's great.
I definitely like this play a lot is because its message still holds up today, 100 years later. Like, advertising is it's what makes the world go round, I felt very immersed while I was acting in it. And like I said, even though it's a comedy, a lot of the characters, as cartoonish as they are pretty grounded to earth, grounded to reality, as funny as they are. So I really appreciated that.
This was my first time playing a lead role, so it felt like I had a lot to carry, but I think because of that, I was able to learn a lot more about immersing myself into a character. I feel like with the dynamic being held with my character, not only was I playing an actor in a show, I was also playing a character in the show. I was pretending. So I think it really helped me learn how that even though I know the story, I have to make sure the audience is learning as they go with me. I'm not giving them hints at what's actually happening or what's going to happen.
I think just what I liked about the play is the fact that it was
old-timey, right? 1914, I think it was written. I've never acted in a play that was set in that time period, so that was fun. I also love the costumes of the time period. So, and then for my character specifically, I have to talk in French, and so that was quite a challenge with the rehearsal process, but also a big accomplishment. So that was pretty fun. And then also just learning how to express myself so that the audience understands what I'm trying to communicate, even if they don't really understand what's coming out of my mouth. So I actually, luckily, thank God, had a friend who speaks French. So I went with her. She would say the lines for me. I would repeat. We recorded them. So I just listened to those recordings over and over and just practiced that way.
One of the objectives was to make sure that you can tell that there are different characters. So each character moves and sounds like in a way that they're unique from the other. And so that was kind of the challenge in the experiment.
Trust your team, trust your people. There are many times in all the plays where we had to rely on our castmates, whether we messed up or we just had to, figure out some new method of doing something, but just trusting the ensemble here that we have.
The audience definitely helps make the show a lot better, in my opinion, because, we rehearse so many times with an empty crowd and stuff, and so those comedic moments, you're so used to just hearing absolute radio silence through them that when you're actually performing for a crowd and you do hear those moments where they laugh or they're like shocked that something happens, it really brings a satisfying feeling, because you're like, oh man, like they really feel like they're in it. They really feel like they're discovering this with us. So I feel like the audience reactions is what completes the play as a whole, truly.
Well, listen, we only have a few minutes, so I want to get some other stuff out of you about the drama department itself at HCC. Why should people go to HCC for drama?
One of the big selling points for HCC is that students can actually get an associate's degree in drama.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an associate's degree with an emphasis in drama. It's actually a drama AA. And it can be tailored to what students need. So we have the performance track. So you can get an AA in drama with the performance emphasis, or technical theater emphasis, or the general emphasis that's really meant for our students who want to go and be theater educators themselves.
Okay, very good. And and like you were saying, there's different things, like I want to be more of an actor. Somebody else, I'd rather just direct, or I like scenery or audio, lighting, etc. So there's different avenues people can.
Yeah. One of the things that I always do is I try to sit down with every drama major at least once a semester and say, okay, so what's the end goal?
Mm-hmm.
What do we need to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
Where do we want to go?
Mm-hmm.
Are you actually going to finish the AA and then transfer to a four-year school, or are you wanting to go out into the industry? Because those are two different students as well.
Yes.
And both are completely viable coming out of the program at HCC. So we can tailor what they want and need to really try to get them to the end goal.
Speaking of end goal, what are some jobs drama students can find?
There's always the actor.
Mm-hmm, of course.
Right? That's usually the big one.
Mm-hmm.
Theater teacher. We have a lot of students who go from us with their AA and drama and go to a four-year school and get their teaching certificate for theater teaching.
Mm-hmm.
We've got one who just graduated a couple of years ago who's starting her student teaching this spring.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
That's exciting. But that's a really good, viable track. We've got a lot of drama majors who want to go on and be theater educators. On the technical side, you can work in theater, you can work in a television studio, you can work on film sets, you can work for events and conferences. All the setups for like the big conferences that come into the GRB, those all require technical theater skills.
Excellent. And I wish I had more time to talk to you, but unfortunately, time is something we don't have a whole lot of.
I'll come back anytime you want me to.
And I will ask you to, please. Okay, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it, Deborah. Well, thank you for for watching us on the show here. And just remember to keep watching us on Line by Line, where we get to show you how to make your mark in the arts. See you next time.